Good evening. We bring you the latest in the world of sports. I'm Carlo Pamintuan.
We bring you the conversations you want to hear from your favorite icons and athletes. I'm Z Herbacio. In tonight's game plan, we'll break down our list of the PBA's top playmakers on the court in the ongoing Governor's Cup.
And our resident hot take guy, Jello Vito, returns to give his sentiments on Jett Manuel's favorite team, the Los Angeles Lakers. Buckle up, sports fans. Let's get in the game. As we await the resumption of the PBA Governor's Cup, a couple of names have separated themselves from the pack when it comes to dishing dimes. Joining us to give his list of top PBA playmakers this conference is PBA Rush analyst Jett Manuel. Good evening, Jett, and thank you for joining us here in the game.
Good evening, guys. Thanks for having me.
All right, Jett, we all know that you had experience playing in the PBA. You've teamed with and went up against some of the top playmakers in the entire league. But what would you say defines a playmaker?
Okay, so a playmaker for me isn't just the number of assists. I mean, sure, it's a good barometer, it's a good measure, but more than that, it's about setting the pace. It's about knowing the momentum of the game, knowing who to set up and how to set them up. So it involves so much more things than just the number of assists. But the number of assists still says something about how good a player is.
All right, so let's get to your list. So sino ang number one sa listahan mo, Jett?
Okay, well, I think we got the top 5
Okay.
in the league right now, as of right now. And the number 5 on that list is Nard Pinto. So he has 5.5 assists per game. And what's unique with him is, I mean, if you look at his stats, 9.5 assists or 5.5 assists, he's not really like a high-profile star. He's not one of those guys that you see on the leaderboards as often as other superstars are, but he's so effective. I mean, the way he dishes out his assists is just simple basketball, being a simple point guard, being as steady as one can be, and he plays both ends of the floor great. So I think, him at my number 5 I'm comfortable with that.
Jett, what's actually funny about Nard Pinto is that yung 9 points per ball game niya, he scored 18 points in the first game and 0 in the second game. So, the scoring might be there, it might not be there, but the assist numbers will always come in for Nard Pinto. How do you think yung impact niya dito sa Meralco so far as they've been undefeated in the Governor's Cup?
I think he's a steady presence. I mean, yeah, you have Chris Newsom there. And I think he's been pushed now to be more of a scorer. And if you have that kind of superstar where he's not pressured, to set up the play, to set up his teammates, that opens up room for him. And I think Nard Pinto being the point guard where he's comfortable in setting up his teammates, setting up plays, knowing what the coach wants to run on the floor and being a communicator. I think that's his leadership. He's not the noisiest guy. He's not the guy that you see talking to all his teammates all of the time. But you can feel his presence, again, both ends of the floor, and the way he dishes out his assists to his teammates.
All right, I see here your top 4 is one of the top individual players of the past year, Mr. Consistency, or sabihin ba nating Mr. Right, Matthew Wright, Jett.
Yeah, Matthew Wright. Okay, so I'm gonna go out and just say it. He's, for me, one of the best talents we have in the PBA right now. And to some people, it may be even surprising that he's on number 4 in assists as of right now in the PBA. But for me, I think it's just a sign of the role he's taken. I think he's not, and he can score 20 plus points any game. That's just how good he is of a scorer. But now I think with the amount of time that he has the ball in his hands, he's looking for his teammates now. He's trying to open up space for him to score in the 4th. So the 6.6 assist is a little bit beyond what I expected from him, but I'm not surprised. I think that's just the maturity and the IQ and the talent that he has, and he can be a great playmaker, even if he's looking to score. So it's more of a balance now, and he's figuring it out.
Jett, as a defender, knowing that Matthew Wright could get off any shot that he wanted anywhere on the floor, does it make him a more dangerous playmaker for you?
Well, first of all, Carlo, I'd like to say thanks that you consider me a defender. So, first of all, thanks for
As a
that.
defender
Second,
to Matthew Wright.
okay. Well, yun nga, I think it's hard because now before kasi, I think Matthew, when you guard someone like him, when I was playing, it's more of he's gonna look to score. He's gonna look to score. Someone's gonna set the pick and roll. He's gonna ask for a pick and roll. He's gonna look to score. But now, you can pattern your defense or ready your defense around that. But now that he has the threat na, or if he's gonna be aggressive and then dish it off to his teammate, it keeps the defense on edge, guessing pa on what he's gonna do. So as a defender guarding him, it's harder now, or way harder to guard him. You don't know if he's gonna look to score or if he's gonna look to set his teammates up.
All right, let's get to it. Your top three, Jett.
Okay, so in the top three now, this is where it comes interesting. So these are really great point guards. So I think number three for me in the league right now is Gio Halalon, 7.3 assists per game. We've known what Gio could do. Siya yung defensively alam na natin, siya yung parang kitikiti sa defense. Ayaw mo talaga makita na nagbababa ka ng bola and nandun siya. But now you see the numbers, 7.3 assists per game. That's huge. Yeah, it's still early in the season, but the way he's been dishing out assists is so high impact. Hindi siya steady point guard. He creates turnovers, he runs down, and then even in fast breaks, he's looking for his teammates. And all of his teammates are ready na talaga on catching the ball every time he's driving down the lane. So I think Gio na continues to keep growing. He's still the spark plug for Magnolia. And of course, I think he's learning from one of the best playmakers in the PBA in the past, few years with Mark Baroka.
It's actually amazing, Jett, to have those kinds of numbers in a team that also has Polly, that also has Mark Baroka, as you said. This goes to show the impact na binibigay nitong si Gio Halalon. Moving forward, down your list is a player that we unfortunately will not see anymore for the rest of the season. We're talking about the veteran Alex Habagnot, suffered an Achilles tear, but in his few games with the Terra Firma Jeep, he looked outstanding.
Outstanding indeed, 7.5, a little bit above Gio. But here's what's surprising. For me, Alex is like a LeBron James now for the PBA because he's 39 years old and he's playing this way. You see the numbers. Iba siya naglaro he was different when he played for San Miguel, and then now that he's here in Terra Firma Jeep, he has the ball more. He doesn't have a lot of competition to be a playmaker. And then with that opportunity, nakita lang natin biglang lumabas ulit yung laro or yung veteran leadership. So it's just impressive for me that he's 39 years old, how long he's been in the league, and he's averaging this much assists with 12 points per game pa.
That's right, talagang like fine wine. So let's get to your number one on the list. Parang inspired maglaro recently eh.
Oo, kita natin, inspired. I think we all know the reason why. So again, congrats to him if he sees this. But, Robert Pollick, number one in assists, 9.3 assists plus 20 points per game pa. Okay, this guy is playing as one of the top players. I think he's just making a case for best player of the conference right now. Head over heels above everybody on the list. The way he's been playing, he's setting up his teammates everywhere. From the three-point line, on the fast break, from setup plays, from pick and rolls. Greg is feasting inside with the new tools also he has around him. Ang bilib lang ako sa kanya is how quick he was able to recognize the new pieces like Arwin Santos around him and find a way to set them up in their strengths to make shots. So 9.3 assists for him. It seemed almost too easy, but this just speaks to how good of a player Robert Pollick is. For me, he's really making a case for best player of the conference.
So Robert Pollick, Nards Pinto, Matthew Wright, Gio Halalon, and Alex Habagnot are Jett Manuel's top 5 playmakers of the Governor's Cup so far. Thank you, Jett, but don't leave us just yet, as after the break, our resident hot take guy, Jello Vito, returns to give us sentiments on Jett Manuel's favorite team, the Los Angeles Lakers. Stay tuned. You're watching The Game.
Welcome back to The Game. I am Z Hervasio. Tonight, we are graced with Laker fan Jett Manuel's presence on our show. And in light of that, we have decided to call upon our resident hot take guy, Jello Vito, once again. And in this segment, our former UP Fighting Maroons will be breaking down some hot takes for the Los Angeles Lakers. What's up, Jello? Jett?
Fighting talaga.
Thanks for having me.
Kahit sa UB, nagpa-fight na kami dalawa eh.
Ramdam ko din yun. Kitang-kita namin. Okay, let's get to it. Nandito sa list ni Jello. Number 1, Anthony Davis will never live up to the legendary Laker big men. What can you say about this? Jett?
No.
I'm gonna say that Jello is lying. What are you talking about, Jello? Anthony Davis is one of the best talents we have in the NBA.
Yes, I agree. Sige. But right now, you would notice, he's not really that assertive like the Shaqs, the Wilt Chamberlains inside the court. We don't see the top dog in him being the so-called one of the stars of the Lakers right now. I mean, for me, he left his game after the Orlando bomb. Like, I really think he has to return to Orlando, look for his game, and maybe, just maybe, Jett, he could really be one of those guys that could help LeBron.
Okay, well, I'm gonna say it that it's just early in the season. As a Laker fan, he's just trying to pace himself for the rest of the season, for the end. Tingnan natin. But I'll take that.
Okay.
You know what, Jett and Jello, if you tier it and you say that Wilt and Shaq are the two best Laker bigs, I don't think it's a stretch to say na mahihirapang umabot doon si Anthony Davis, because let's just accept that anyone else will also have a very difficult time reaching that level from all of the bigs right now in the NBA, which sends us to our second hot take coming from Jello Vito. Z?
Am I reading this right, Jello? LeBron might be too old to be relied upon by the Lakers.
Jello, explain.
Okay, LeBron will be LeBron. Okay, he's gonna get his numbers. He's gonna do whatever it takes to lead his team. But for me, to make an impact as a lone dominant force, not really. Not unlike the LeBron James of 2006, when he carried the entire Cleveland Cavaliers on his back all the way to the NBA Finals. But right now, he needs his help. Like, I really feel that he can only do so much. At age 36, yes, he's averaging 28.5 points a game, close to 8 rebounds and close to 6 assists. But again, in the long run, do you think he could still have the gas to make it all the way with Anthony Davis not showing up, Russell Westbrook? We'll talk about Russell Westbrook pa later. Like, do you think he would carry this team despite everything that's happening? I really don't see it right now.
Okay. Sorry, Jello, mababa pala yung 28 points and 8 rebounds and 6 assists. Sorry, mababa pala yun at his age.
Sorry, mataas standard ko kay LeBron.
Oo nga eh, kasi we're comparing him to younger LeBron eh. Parang ganun nga yung nangyayari. And I think they won their third straight game a while ago. They're above 500, 2019. He played awesome. He had crazy stats in the last few games. And just to answer, sorry Carlo and Zia, pero did we think na tatagal ba siya 18 years in the league na ganyan pa rin yung nilalaro niya? I don't know, Jello. I don't like your plan.
To be fair, Jett, he hit the dagger earlier. It was a left-handed drive against the Sacramento Kings. It's still going good for LeBron. Is it as good as before? Maybe he's not on that level anymore, but LeBron James is still the king. Z?
Definitely still the king. And speaking of Jello, nabanggit na niya, Russ is just too all over the place right now.
Yeah, like, I don't know if Jett, you would agree with me on this, but he just can't create for his team. He can't make good decisions. He's basically just all over the place, throwing the ball all over, like, kung saan siya napupunta. Basically, pangit niya panoorin. Yun ang pangit niya panoorin. Yes, he's averaging close to another triple-double season. He's averaging 19 points a game, 8 rebounds a game, and 8 assists. But Jet, at what cost? At what cost? Diba? At what cost? He's Russell Westbrook, gagawin niya lahat. He's gonna be the dominant force na we all know, but at what cost? Come on, it's not really translating into wins. For me, it's not really translating into wins. As a veteran, he should be to be looking out more to the rookies or to the younger guys to be better. Pero I don't really see it.
Well, I'm gonna have to agree with you on this.
Oh, come on, Jett. That's weak stuff, man. The Los Angeles Laker fan agreeing with someone bashing Russell. Let me defend him. Let me defend him. For the first time in 407 games, Russell Westbrook did not commit a single turnover earlier against the Sacramento Kings. So
You have to
whatever,
give it to
Jett,
him.
whatever, Jello, move to, to the
Okay,
fourth,
last na,
fourth
last na.
point, G.
All right, this might cost them their championship. Ito ba? Tama ba? Most of them are too entitled to do the dirty work. So what's
Yes.
gonna happen this season? What do you think?
Yes, I really feel that they don't get those extra possessions. Veterans won't accept their current roles. Um, a lot of I've talked to a lot of friends who are diehard Laker fans, and that's the number one problem with them right now. They have those guys like Austin Reeves. They have DHT. And props to Malik Monk. He's been playing well, but to the other veterans like White, Anthony, Carmelo Anthony. I really feel that they just wanted to score. They just wanted to cruise through the games. Sometimes naiisip pa nila, namimili pa nga ng kalaban. Kumbaga, if LeBron wants to play, everyone will play. If LeBron doesn't want to play, they won't play. I mean, I really feel that in order for them to go all the way and to shut up all the haters, including me, I really think that they have to do all the dirty work, all the extra possessions, get all extra possessions, get those rebounds, get those extra passes, and all those little things. I really think they would do all of it.
Okay,
I'm
well,
sure Jett will agree with that because
No.
he's also
No.
not happy with how the Lakers are performing.
no. I'm gonna disagree,
Oh.
Carlo, with this one because they're not too entitled, Jello. There's something called kasi as adjustment period. In the adjustment period, they have to understand their rules. Bagong rules kasi yan. And the young guys are figuring it out. The old guys, of course, you're not gonna play as if it's the last game, on earth, diba? So, I think my defense is that we see the games where they play hard. We see the games where all the vets are diving on the floor. I can't say that they're entitled. I mean, Carmelo Anthony's playing well. Is he entitled? He just want to score. LeBron's playing like a madman right now. Is he entitled? He's not doing the dirty work. There's just some plays in the game. Of course, you can't do all the dirty work. But I think they're just figuring it out. Just give it a little bit of time. They're above 500, like I said. They're gonna figure it out as the season progresses because they're vets and they're winners.
As always, all discussions about the Los Angeles Lakers are lively. Thank you, Jett, and thank you, Jello, for joining us in this discussion. And when we return, more NBA as we talk about the recently trending and inspiring journey of one Mr. Scotty Hopson. Keep it here. You're watching the game. you're watching the game. One of the interesting things to recently circulate around social media is NBA Hall of Fame commentator Mike Breen's story about a journeyman by the name of Scotty Hopson. In a recent game of the Oklahoma City Thunder, Breen took his time to tell the story of Hopson, who literally hopped around the world before reaching his NBA team. Tonight, we'll talk about Hopson's inspiring journey with our former UP Fighting Maroons, Jett Manuel and Jello Vito. Good evening, gentlemen. Again, we thank you for joining us here in the game. But we all saw the story coming from Mike Breen, the story of Hopson. And ano siya, it's a story of just perseverance, not getting to the NBA in the usual route, but he got there 10 years after graduating from college. Jett, just your reaction to this amazing journey.
I mean, we've seen, I think, a few stories in the past where these guys who are, they're 30 plus years old and then they make it into the NBA with 10-day contracts. And it's always inspiring. Because for me as a player, it's not easy to get in the pro ranks. I mean, there are some that are lucky. I mean, a lot has to do also with luck, the situations you're in, and the type of timing when you enter the NBA draft or the PBA draft. And I think there are a lot of players that are good enough or even better than current players right now, but they just weren't lucky. And I think Scotty Hopson is one of those guys, and I think the way he's made his journey is just inspiring because the guy just didn't give up. He didn't give up from his dream. He didn't give up from what he wanted to do. What he knew he was destined to do. And for me as a player, I'm always gonna root for these kinds of guys.
All right, let me ask you, Jello, is there any aspect of his story that speaks volumes para sa'yo?
To be honest, I can really relate to his story. For someone who entered the draft but wasn't signed, and right now bouncing around from different teams, different leagues. It's just like what Jett said. It's just very inspiring. For me, I'm really getting inspired by it to continue pursuing the game, to continue working on my game to improve and to reach that level. It's not always you get to hear those types of stories. Kahit marami ring ganyan yung story, but you don't really get to see and to live that story. So I really think na I'm very grateful na experience ko yung mga ganyan kasi bihira ka makakita ng ganyan.
Amazing story all throughout, and we thank you, Jello and Jett. Hindi pa naman talaga sarado yung pinto, no? Years from now, maybe even Jett Manuel will unretire to continue his PBA dream. We thank you, gentlemen, for joining us here on the game.
Thanks, guys, for having us.
Thank you, guys.
Meanwhile, the MVP group of companies, together with its partners, are in unity in spreading joy and hope this holiday season. And you can be part of this remarkable movement. This time, patients of the National Kidney Transplant Institute received a holiday surprise. Let's watch this.
Binago ang buhay ko noong pandemic. Noong mga panahon na yan, hirap na hirap ako sa buhay dahil hindi ko alam kung saan ako kukuha ng pantustos ko sa araw-araw.
Meron po magandang loob na magbibigay sa atin ng regalo para sa Kapaskuhan ito.
Natutuwa kami at napili kami na mabigyan nga ng mga ganitong biyaya para sa aming mga pasyente. I could say it's really a big help for them. Tsaka, syempre, may sakit na nga sila. So, mga ganitong bagay, makakapagpasaya talaga sa kanila.
Tuloy pa rin ang Pasko ng Pinoy kahit ano pa mang pasakit sa ating bumalakid. Pag-ibig sa ating puso ay mamamagay.
Kitang-kita naman po natin sa mga ngiti ng mga pasyente na masayang-masaya po sila. Sa ganitong paraan, nadagdagan po ang saya ng aming mga pasyente ngayon pong Kapaskuhan. Lalo na po at nasa pandemic pa po tayo.
Salamat po.
Salamat po.
Maraming salamat po sa mga naging sponsors po namin
sa Alagang Kapatid Foundation, sa PLDT Smart Foundation, sa Signal TV po, at ganun din po sa management ng NKTI po na siyang tumulong po sa amin para maging ganap ito pong event na ito. Maraming salamat po.
Tuloy pa rin na Pasko.
Let's do our part and spread the Christmas cheer to our fellow kababayans. You may send your donations to the accounts flashed on your screen or contact us on the following details. Tara na sa isang maligayang bayanihan Pilipino.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Z Herbacio.
And I'm Carlo Pamentuan. This has been The Game.